We're going to sketch y equals a, x plus 1 times x minus 4 squared. So first thing, that a is just a constant, but we don't know if it's positive or negative, which is going to throw a little wrinkle in at the end. First thing with all these sketching though, we're just kind of using the behavior of the zeros to get a sketch. So these aren't going to be super duper accurate in terms of their y values, but in terms of the x values and where they cross the x-axis, that's what we're zooming in on. So it's really going to exaggerate when we're doing these sketches, the x-intercepts. Everything else is just kind of a general shape. So first thing I notice that x plus 1 factor gives me a 0 at negative 1, and because it's raised to the power of 1, it's a single 0 at negative 1. The x minus 4 squared is a double 0 at 4. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to plot those. So first I'm going to plot the 0 at negative 1 and then another 0 at 4. But what I'm going to remember is because it's a double 0, it's going to bounce there. And because the negative 1's a single 0, it's just going to pass through that. So I always think single zeros, it just passes through really steep. The double 0, that's going to be a bounce. Looking at my powers, x plus 1 is raised to the power of 1, even if it's not there. And then x minus 4 is to the power of 2, so I add those together. 1 plus 2 gives me a degree 3, which is odd. So with an odd degree, I know it's either starting in quadrant 3 and ending in quadrant 1, or starting in quadrant 2 and ending in quadrant 4. Basically, it's going on a diagonal. We don't know what a is, though, so we don't know if it's positive or negative, so we can't go either way. Typically, when I'm sketching, I actually don't even worry about the chart. All I look at is if it's a positive, I know it ends going up. All of them, no matter what. If the leading coefficient is positive, it always ends going up. If the leading coefficient's negative, it's going to end going down. And in this case, a out in front is the leading coefficient. So I'm going to draw it first. If it's positive, I'm going to assume, and I'm going to start in quadrant 1 and work this backwards. So I'm starting far on the right. So I'm going to come down. It's got to bounce at 4, and then it's going to come back up and just pass straight through negative 1. So that's one possibility if a is greater than 0. If the leading coefficient's negative, well, then it ends going down. So then I'm going to start down at the bottom, and I'm going to come up and bounce on 4, and then I'm just going to keep drawing this to the left, and it's going to pass through negative 1, kind of steep. And there are the two possible graphs. So either of those, you don't have to, on any question you're doing, if it doesn't have a leading coefficient, either of those, the green or the blue, is acceptable, okay? If there is a leading coefficient, which is what's going to occur in the next couple examples, only one of those would be possible if they give you a positive or negative leading coefficient.